All right, all right, all right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the sports betting collaboration, or excuse me, the sports affiliation betting collaboration, brought to you by, of course, the sports affiliation. Make sure you go check those guys out. Give them a follow at the sports affili on Twitter/X. We are on YouTube. Please subscribe. This is a betting show brought to you by Joey Deuces and myself, Iggy G. So Joey D and Iggy G bringing you the bets. We've been talking baseball a lot, getting ready to pivot to our favorite betting sport, football. But we still got some bets for you tonight. As you can see, scrolling across the bottom, got a crazy parlay going on. But Joey, how you been, man? How's everything going?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. Pumped for the show. Ready for NFL to start. It's only a couple weeks away. Chiefs with the opener against the Lions, man. I'm ready to go, brother. What about you?
I can't wait, man. We can't even get away from the preseason. We're going to lay some bets on there. Little difficult, so we're going to talk a little bit of strategy tonight. Maybe we get some new betters. We'll kind of cover really what the three main bets are, which are a straight bet, a spread bet, and an over under as well. So we will get to that for you. Don't worry, no need to panic. But before we do that, we got some pretty close MLB games coming up. Do you like any of the MLB games starting essentially right now or later? 6
I'm actually on the under in the Astros Mariners. 8.5. I think it probably just started.
Yep.
Um, they're playing. The Mariners and Astros both playing real good baseball right now. I think it's going to be a defensive game. Mariners, I think, are only one game back the wild card. They just, I think, won 3 or 4 against the Royals, and then they have to go right away after a 4 game long trip against Kansas City. Go play the Astros. France is pitching for the Astros. I think Miller's pitching for the Mariners. Think it's going to be a low score game. Ultimately 4-2, probably 5-3, something like that. What about you? You got any baseball bets?
Yeah, looking at it, man. Unfortunately, the second half of the parlay hit Detroit, Cleveland. No run first inning hit in the second game of the doubleheader, but the first run, Detroit spoiled us again, man. I think that's a third no run first inning they destroyed. So we got to stay away from that.
I know, and it's weird. To start the season, they were a real good NRFI team to bet, and then they have been spoiling a lot of our stuff. And it doesn't make sense because their offense is not good. So
Yeah, I know they've just been getting it together lately. I don't know what's going on with that division. Is Milwaukee and leading that one? Do you know off the top of your head?
leading which division?
The NL, what is the Detroit's in the NL or the AL? They're in the NL, right?
AL. They're in the AL Central with the
They're,
Royals and Twins and Guardians and White Sox.
okay, and who's winning it? The Guardians.
To be honest, I don't know off the top of my head just because the Royals are so bad. Let me look it up. I
I think
just
it's
know the Royals are 44 games below 500, so I kind of stay away from the AL Central.
yeah, that's a
Uh,
tough.
yeah, the Twins are in the division, winning the division right now. They're 63 and 59. The Guardians are 5 games back at 58 and 64. So yeah, it's by far the weakest division in baseball. It's rough.
Yeah, man, that is tough. Well, speaking of another bad team over here in the NL, the Colorado Rockies, man, hosting the Chicago White Sox. That game is about to start in 30 minutes, a little under 30 minutes, so still time to get on it. It is in Colorado, so you do have that 12 run over under. Love to see it in my home course field. Always a lot of home runs. You can count on it. Boston's line's a little higher right now because they're just whooping up on the Yankees. The Red Sox
They
almost
are. They're up 7-1 in the third. That's
7-1.
crazy.
That's a 21-3 pace. We'll see what happens there. But
Yeah, they
Rockies,
got their stud Brian Bello pitching. He's a real good young player. He reminds me of Yordano Ventura. If you guys know who he is, rest in peace. He passed away a few years ago in a car accident, but they called Yordano the next Pedro. And Brian Bello reminds me a lot of him, and he's a real good pitcher for the Red Sox.
Man, that's gonna be good. The Pedro Martinez era. Glad he was on there. I got some memorabilia I'm going to be giving away. I have my personal copies I received of the Red Sox when they won. That's that they won that World Series. They won the Sportsman of the Year. So if you're a Red Sox fan, keep tuned. We're going to get rid of some memorabilia pretty soon, and and that stuff's pretty authentic. I didn't reprint it. It's been immaculately taken care of for over a decade. So.
Nice. Who doesn't love free memorabilia?
Right, man. It's a Red Sox fan. We're going to see what we can do to help it out. We're not quite figured it out yet. Memorabilia is there, so we don't have to worry about that. Looking ahead, though, bringing it back to this Rockies game, I wanted to bring an interesting point to the audience. Like I said, about 25 minutes on it, 12 runs on the over/under. Rockies are slightly tilted at -122 to the +102, at least on this book. But here's where it gets interesting. Favored on the -122 on the line, but switched up just as are the Angels with a and what it is it's a +1.5 for the Rockies at -175, and then you got the White Sox to cover 1.5 on the line. It's at +145. What do you think of those situations? They don't happen too much, but you do see them in baseball some. And how do you attack those?
Um, usually stuff like that, it does not happen very often, like you say. For me, usually those are like stay away games because, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It kind of shows you when lines don't make sense like that, it usually means Vegas knows something you don't, right? I mean, it happens in the NFL trap games. That's kind of like a trap game, in my opinion. I would just stay away from that because it doesn't make sense. And especially in the NFL and even in the MLB, when lines don't make sense, there's a reason for it. Usually Vegas knows something that you don't. I mean, if I had to pick, I would probably go White Sox -1.5 just because it's funky and it doesn't make sense. So if I had to, I would probably go White Sox -1.5, but that would be sounds like a trap game, stay away game for me that we see almost weekly in the NFL where you're like, oh, that line's fishy, real fishy. There's something we don't know.
Right, right. And that's betting. If you're new to betting, there's always inside intel. Just imagine if we had a really good friend that's worked at, I don't know, let's keep it neutral. Let's say they worked at the Atlanta Falcons. Somehow they ended up in the Atlanta Falcons, but they're like with the team, traveling, sees them, and they say, hey, this is about to happen. Like, that's nice to have. People have those advantages. Well,
Yeah,
Vegas,
exactly. I wish we had Schefter in our back pocket, and we'd be
exactly.
hitting probably above 70%.
Yeah, and but the point is, Vegas has every one of those insider information. I mean, they've got every insider that you could possibly have. Like, or if they don't have, they got somebody just as equal to it on that team. I guarantee you. So
Exactly, and that's like the saying: if it's too good to be true, it probably is. It,
right,
and
right,
in
and
betting, if a line's fishy, I mean, there's usually a reason why the line is fishy. So those are trap games, stay away games, and that's how I would take this White Sox Colorado game. I just wouldn't touch it. It's just fishy. It stinks. Probably best to stay away.
all right. As it's on the parlay, I did have a crazy boost down there, so I just went crazy. I hadn't built a parlay like that in a long time. It's a 5-legger, uh, so it's out there. But you never know what can happen. And one game I do feel good about is Kyle Gibson against the A's, -205, so almost 2-for-1. It's about my borderline right there when I'm making a bet. Feels good. Feels like you could put a unit on it and gain half a unit pretty confidently and build the bankroll.
I would
Orioles are
say, I would say so. The A's are 34-87, so they're pretty awful. It seems like almost a no-brainer right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really confident, go ahead and put the full 2 unit on it to get the unit back. I like to stay. I don't watch as much baseball. If we were getting something like this and I felt really confident in football, yeah, I would put the hammer on it or 2 unit or whatever you want to say on it. But with it being baseball for me, I think it's a safe 1 unit bait. I'm happy getting half a unit back on a game that feels like it should be a breeze. I mean, it's at 8.5. Excuse me, on the run line. You figure 5 of that's Baltimore, 3 of that's Oakland, and we've been on some no-run first innings against Baltimore. and we got lucky because they turned it on right after that. Seems
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's
They're a
like they.
great team, man. They got great young talent. They have one of the lowest payrolls in the MLB, and they're 74-47. They've developed a lot of great players from their farm system, and they're definitely a team to watch out for. If I was in the playoffs, I wouldn't want to see them. That's for sure.
Yeah, the AL playoffs, the pennant race is going to be pretty interesting. That's when baseball kind of really starts, in my opinion. But unfortunately, that is when football starts. so,
Yeah, exactly. That's football season right there.
yeah, excuse me, just had to charge my phone in real quick. Let's. If I turn it like this, do we still see it good? Am I still upright for you?
Yeah, you're good. And
Okay,
I
cool.
would say I haven't looked much into this NRFI for tonight, but the Marlins are always they're the best NRFI team in baseball. They're not at home. If they were, it'd be an auto bet for me. They're still right around 70% at home, which is just absolutely crazy. Anytime the Marlins play at home, I've said it several times, just auto bet it. I mean, 70% clip at I mean, there's a pretty good sample size, and but they are on the road against the Dodgers, so so I would look into that. Tony Gonsolin versus Sandy Alcantara, which two decent pitchers. They're not great, but I would look into that a little bit since the Marlins are such a good NRFI team.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now. It's at -110. So pretty much straight bet on that prop bet, more or less. I
Yeah,
don't. I kind of like it. I got I'm gonna play some bets as soon as we get off. Baltimore being one. I'm gonna put another half a unit on this one as well, just to make up for the one earlier. But looking at it right there, it looks like we got about 3 bets for you coming at the MLB tonight. Like I said, we've kind of placed a unit apiece on all those. Like I said, I'm gonna put half a unit on that under. The Dodgers sometimes can be scary with that front four if they get somebody on base. They just
yeah,
need.
dude. Their lineup. I mean, Betts, Freeman. It's crazy. They just got two. They got a loaded lineup. That's another team I would not want to see in the playoffs. They're just their lineup all aboard stacked. They score a ton of runs. I mean, it's just scary. I wouldn't want to see them.
Yeah, they're good. They're gonna make one more push. They've lost they should have more World Series than they have. But if they get two, would this be two for them, or did have they won two?
They've only won one recently, the
But
COVID year, the
yeah,
shortened 60
yeah,
60 games.
they're the Lakers one. That's right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. One more would kind of solidify them as one of the best. Definitely teams of this century, and maybe put them in top 20 all time running.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
baseball, you're talking 100 and however many years. So that's a pretty good deal. But yeah, let's move it ahead. Look at the NFL, man. We do love the MLB, but we're going to get to this and we're going to break down what a spread means, a total, and the money line. So NFL, real popular bets. I think it's last year when I checked the statistic, it was 72% of all the bets, I believe, were straight bets on the NFL. So you're going to hear a lot of that talk. I think that's Joey's kind of one of his favorite bets as well. But what we're going to do when we're looking at these bets for tomorrow, like I said, on the game lines, or Sunday, I guess, that's the big day, right? Sunday. No,
There's a lot of games tomorrow.
no, yeah, I'm sorry. I was on the regular NFL. I was like, what the heck is this Sunday stuff? Yeah, we got some good games tomorrow. But before we get to that, Joey, I know you like to bet on the spread. So just explain what the spread is and then why you use it to your advantage, okay? So people can understand that a little better.
Sure, absolutely. So the spread is like I'm looking at the Jets game tomorrow. They're -3.5. So think of it when the game starts tomorrow. The Bucks are up 3.5 points. The game starts 3.5 to the Jets 0. So for you to win that bet, the Jets have to win by 4 or more. And the
Yeah.
line's 3.5. They call the .5 the hook. A lot of people in those situations buy it down to 3 because it's a field goal pushes 3.5's a little more tricky. But yeah, anytime a spread is like +3, +3.5 rather, The Bucks, when the game starts, are up 3.5-0. That's what the spread is. And yeah, you use it to your advantage. I mean, you pick your points, you do your research, and it's all about getting the right number. 3.5 is a lot different than 3. 7.5 is a lot different than 7. You know, it's the main
The
thing
main
in the
thing in the
NFL,
NFL,
like I
like I
said,
said,
is
is
getting the
getting the
right
right
number.
number.
I
I
mean,
mean, you have to.
you have to get the right number, and if a line bumps from 7 to 8, 8.5, that's a it's a lot different. 1.5 points is a lot different, and that makes me question. I'd probably just stay away in that instance. So that's what the spread betting
Betting
is.
is
Yeah, good example. Do I sound good? Can you hear me on here?
A
a
little
little
bit,
bit,
yeah.
yeah.
You
You
speak a
speak a
little
little
louder.
louder.
All right, yeah, I'll speak a little louder in here. Thank you, Sieg. Thank you, JC, for hopping on, saying let's take the bookies' money. No hooks, JC said, or excuse me, Siegel said. Even I know that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
I don't.
It's
It's
tough,
tough,
man.
man.
3.5
3.5
is
is,
or
or
seven and a
seven and a
half or
half, or
six and a
six and a
half.
half.
The
The
hooks are
hooks are
always
always
tricky,
tricky,
so
so
you got to
you
be
got to be
careful of
careful
that.
uh, yeah, and it's and like you said, that's the spread bet. That's what you're looking at right there. I'll go ahead and talk about the money line. That's pretty simple in the fact that it's just who you expect to win. Who's going to win the game? Right now, the Giants are up 21-3. We took them along with the Falcons on a parlay for tonight's games. So you can combine money lines relatively easy. But who's going to win? For example, when we look at a game that's pretty close. Let's look at a close one. Buffalo at Pittsburgh. Buffalo is negative 125 on the money line. Pittsburgh is plus 105. And that's called the American standard. You can have a decimal, you can have a fraction, you can have it however you want. Okay, but basically the American standard is if you were to put in $100, if it's negative 125, that's how much you have to get back. You have to put that to get $100, and if it's a plus, like plus 105 on the Steelers, that means you put $100 in, you get plus 105. A little confusing, I know. You can break it down to a dollar. Put in a dollar, get $1.05 back. You have to put in $1.25 to get a dollar. So it's pretty easy for me to think that way. I've done podcasts with British, bettors as well, and they use a total different system. So I'm okay using a decimal system too. Or this is what you get when you put in a dollar. This is what you get back. But point the decimal system. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do it for you. Okay. And then the third type of straight bet is the over under. Pretty simple. It's set on a line. Let's just stick with that same game. Buffalo at Pittsburgh is at 42. So you can get a push, just like Joey talked about. If you got an even number, if they score exactly 42, then you get the push. Most of them do come with the hook. The Chicago Colts game, 37 and a half. Miami Dolphins and Houston, 39 and a half. And it depends on how you like to bet. Some people want to be like, well, if I'm betting, I want to win. I either want to win or lose. A smart bettor is going to try to make sure they can at least get their money back. It's like having a tie goes to the runner, and you get to stay on first. Just stick with the baseball analogy. But yeah, so that kind of breaks down the over under the and the money line. And I created a bet called the Moose and the Mouse. So it's the MO for the money line, either O or U for over or under, and then the SE for the spread. If you can, try to pick 3 games and do not tease them. We'll talk about teasing later. But just place a straight bet. Try to put like $1 on it or whatever your minimum is and keep track of it. All right. And after you do about 20 of those bets, you got a pretty good database on what you are good at and what you aren't good at. If you hit on 14 spreads and only 6 over unders, you're a better spread better. If you're just taking the money line with the odds and you're hitting and it turns into a profit, stick with that. Okay, nickel and dime people, nickel and dime the bookies to get what you want. All right, Joey, I'm going to pass it back over to you. What kind of bets are you looking at for tomorrow, and why?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
The first one I'm looking at is the Jets game, the Jets Bucks. I'm going with the Jets minus 3.5. They just trounced the Panthers 27-0 last week, I believe. Um, They have more overall depth, and let's just be real. The Buccaneers and Panthers, they're kind of like in the same category to me. They're not going to be very good. I know we're not going to see Aaron Rodgers, but that defense is still legit. And on the other side, you're going to get Baker Mayfield, who played decent, and then most Trask, who threw a pick. I think he threw for about 90 yards. But overall, I just think the Jets are the way deeper team. They just blew out Carolina, who, in my opinion, is pretty much the same team as the Bucks. They're not going anywhere. So I think there's some value in the 3.5, especially the Jets at home. More depth, better defense. Zach Wilson actually looked pretty good last week. He threw for around 100 yards. He had one great deep ball that they showed on Hard Knocks if you're watching. So that's the first bet I'm going with tomorrow. The New York Jets, there's a lot of hype around them. They're expecting for a big year. So that's what I'm rolling with for my first one tomorrow.
I love it. Good bet. I'm kind of leaning a little bit differently to start it. I like not the Jets necessarily. I mean, I'm not that game. I agreed with you. And did we? I don't think we mentioned what we're going to do is we're going to take one unit and we're going to break down all our bets. So if we place 4 bets, 0.25 unit on all these preseason games. If we end up placing another fifth bet at the end, zero point 0.2 unit on all these bets. It's the preseason. We don't know what to expect. We don't know who's going to get playing time. Some of these players are going to get their only NFL opportunity in this game. There is a pretty good look. Daniel Jones came out, looked great in that first drive. Then they pulled him. Sometimes that's all you need. I think I'm looking at that same game that I mentioned earlier, Buffalo at the Steelers. That's a 6:30 Eastern p.m. Start time tomorrow. And what it is for me is I'm going to take Buffalo on the -1 spread. I mean, the money line's at -125, so I might as well take the spread at -1 and get that push if they don't win by 2 and get the better odds. So that's
Yeah, I
kind of
like that.
that's kind of one thing about what I mean about being a smarter better. Bet smart, be lucky. I said that phrase to encompass betting and fantasy, but I mean it. All right, there's a clear advantage right here in basketball. A lot of times you'll get 9.5 rebounds or a double double. You know this guy's going to get 10 points. What are the better odds? You're basically placing the same bet at that point, unless there's a fluke game with no 10 points for that so said rebounder. All right. So with this example, we're looking at the spread. I can get that push, and if they win, I get better odds than that -125. I'm getting at -110, which is pretty much going to be your standard odds on a clean bet, on an even bet. When the bookies are trying to get truly back to middle, when they're trying to get to middle, which is what they want to clear that 4 or 5% every bet essentially. So I like it, and I think Buffalo has a few more questions than Pittsburgh. Maybe not offensively. They kind of have the same Cook, Diggs, Davis, Knox. They're all there. Allen. But defensively, there's a new linebacker core. They're going to have to look at some cornerback issues. Von Miller's not there. I mean, he's there. He's just injured. He's not going to be playing for sure.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a good chance to see some good pass rush. Pittsburgh may only play their starters once, try to keep them rested. And then Buffalo might put more in their drive. I think Sean McDermott has a little bit more to evaluate than Mike Tomlin does at the moment. So, like I said, a little smart bet, -110. Like I said, we're going to break it up. So, what else you got? You got one more NFL bet for tomorrow?
Yeah, and I just want to say I like that bet. Also, another weapon for the Bills to look out for is Dalton Kincaid. Their first round pick. He's an absolute stud in college. I think he's already number 1 on their depth chart. Usually rookie tight ends don't have great years, and I know that, I mean, data shows that, but in that system with Allen, if we're talking about fantasy and betting, I'm not a big props guy. I know you are. That's the name to look out for. Dalton Kincaid. He's a freak. I think he's going to be a great tight end in the league. Can't hear you, Iggy. You're,
Yeah, sorry. He. I don't know if he might have some props on this game, to be honest with you, because they're gonna play him, I'm sure. But like I said, straight bets for the preseason. We'll get some props going. I am a props guy, but yeah, what else you got for people, and we'll wrap up the show after that.
Sure. So yeah, my next bet is gonna be. I know people are gonna say it's a homer pick, but it's really not. I'm going the Chiefs minus 7.5, and the only reason is because if you take Andy Reid at his word, he said Pat and the first team offense is gonna play most of the first quarter. Uh, Last week they only played one drive, and Pat threw it, I think, 3 times to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Looked like they were not interested in playing. It was kind of let's get this done and over with, get out. But it's week 2. Most teams, since there's only 3 preseason games now, take week 2 the most serious, and they take off week 3 again. I think we're going to see Pat and Kelsey for a good quarter or so. And yeah, I think the defense, they didn't play great against the Saints. The Saints offense is a lot better in my opinion than the Cardinals, especially with Kyle Murray out. And yeah, I think Reed's going to get some positive momentum going, and just the Cardinals are a bad team. They're really bad, and I mean 7.5 is kind of a big number, but you're going against Colt McCoy, David Blau, and Clayton Tune for their quarterbacks. And Chiefs defense in their secondary is, I think, going to be a lot stronger this season. And they're going to want to show a lot better outing than they did in week 1. So that's my second play.
Hey, I love it right there. Being a homer or not, good play. If he's going to play on the first quarter, they could get 10 points right there and then just kind of coast it to the rest of that bet, you know?
Exactly.
So I do love that. Excuse me, taking a look. I do like the Packers against the Patriots. Bill Belichick is not going to play his starters. He is very known to be vanilla in his preseason, not anything. I mean, I'm talking base formations. Green Bay needs to look at a lot of outside young talent. I think Love, as they've already said, he's going to play most of the first quarter as well. So I think that bodes well for the Packers. And the Packers have a good defense that they're just going to be looking at what's on the depth. Looking to get some of these people that might be playing more snaps to begin the year. Van Ness, the rookie, some of the depth. Douglas might get more snaps, even though he's a veteran. Probably going to look at Jonathan Owens back there at the secondary, see how he's looking with the rhythm of things. So I think there's going to be a lot of Green Bay home game for Green Bay. Fans show up for a preseason game just like it's a regular season game. Bill Belichick coming to the Packers. I think they're going to have that little bit of energy about them. That's going to have a little bit more of a regular season format kind of feel of a game, particularly in the first half. So I'm going to stay away from the spread at 2.5. I'm happy with negative 148 on Green Bay. Green Bay's also got to look at a rookie kicker. So I think they're going to be trying to get points. They're going to come down to getting field goals, and they're not going to be scared to roll out there and try to get a game-winning field goal with this kicker in front of a home crowd. So I like that one at negative 148 as well.
I like that too, Iggy. I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, I like it too. So that gave us 4 bets. So if you get the one unit, unless you have one more, do you have another one you'd like to discuss, Joey?
No, that's all the preseason I have right now. Just like we were talking about earlier, just all the unknowns in the preseason. That's why I kind of just stay away. And mostly, just like for the Chiefs, I like to watch rookies who have a lot of hype, like Rice for the Chiefs, the wide receiver, supposed to be like another Sky Moore. I'm really just watching the rookies play. I mean, I already know what to expect from Pat and Travis. I mean, so I kind of stay away from a lot of preseason betting. So that's the only 2 I have.
And I'm the same way. Like I said, I'm really just trying to build up the bankroll a little bit. We don't want to go negative. We want to get some feeling back on some spreads, on some over-unders possibly, and some money lines. That's why I took the spread on the Bills, just because it was better, made more sense. And then I'm taking the Packers at home against the Patriots, negative 148. That's not bad money at all. So 4 bets, put 0.25 unit on those NFL bets. Watch the baseball bets. So once again, to review the NFL, we got the Jets on the spread. Are correct?
Yes, Jets minus 3.5.
Chiefs minus 7.5. I've got the Bills minus 1, and we've also got Green Bay on the money line. So 3 spread bets, 1 money line bet. That means we didn't take the plus. We didn't take the handicap per se. So we were saying the team should win. It's probably the more popular of the two. I don't know. They're probably about even. But it's fun to root on covering the spread, especially if it's your home team. So let's keep that in mind. But right there, we have 4 of those bets. The baseball, we had the no-run first inning on the LA Dodgers and the Marlins game. Remember Marlins' high successful rate on that no-run first inning, particularly at home. They are in LA, though. Then we got the Orioles on the money line as well. And then what was the third one from you, sir? The last MLB one.
I had the Mariners Astros under 8.5.
Yeah, that's right. 8.5 on the under. I stayed away from that game. Like I said, if you're feeling lucky, hop on this parlay. It's scrolling right there across the bottom. We got Minnesota, St. Louis, Colorado, Baltimore, and San Diego coming in at plus 1,441. If you get a chance to cash out, do not be hesitant. If we hit 3 of those and you can cash out on that, just cash it out. Just take that money. That'll be good. But anything else you'd like to say, Joey, before we kind of just close it out? Let people know we're going to be pivoting to football in 2 weeks. The next show will be the last Friday show, September 1st. Then we're going to roll into some Sunday shows after that for football. Start getting you ready the day of. Look at those lines and try to attack the bookies that way. Do you have anything else to say, Joey?
Yeah, just looking forward to football, man. 2, 3 more weeks away. I just also wanted to add, I know me and you were talking about this privately. Week 1 to 4 to 5 in the NFL. The bookies really don't have their numbers tight yet or sharp, they would say. That's when really people make the most money is week 1 through 4 when the bookies are on point. But anytime after, week 5, 6, that's when the lines get really tight. So try to take advantage those early weeks when, the bookies aren't sharp and you might be sharper than them. And just looking forward to the season and our Sunday shows, talking a little fantasy betting, and go Chiefs. Hopefully they win another title.
Hey, man, yeah, Green Bay all the way. Just stick around for the betting. They'll probably be close to this one, 30-minute show. We'll have it preset. We'll kind of give you the little cheat sheet so you can hop in, and it'll give you time to hop off, make these bets, check out your fantasy lineups. We'll keep it kind of early-ish in the morning. That way we're not getting you too close. You can get those bets in. We can all cash. We're going to do some subscriptions. We're not going to give you guys all our bets, but if you want to look at something like all our bets or get some extra bets, we're going to set something up as well. All right. Remember to follow the Sports Affiliation. Go give Joey Deuces a follow. What's your Twitter or X for everybody on there as well?
Yeah, it's at Joey Deuce 22.
There you go. I heard it. I'm at IDP_Iggy. Give us a follow. Give us a subscribe on YouTube. Tell your friends. We're going to put some money in that pocket. All right, building bankrolls and tallying titles. That's what we're all about over here at the Sports Affiliation. We do have the game show coming on Monday. Make sure you tune in for that. We do have the assist for JR. A lot of basketball news, believe it or not. Schedule release, Christmas Day games, and tournament games. It's big news. The NBA is doing really well on how they're marketing them, and we're not letting them slip by. So once again, thank you for joining. We'll hit the outro. Joey, thank you again for a wonderful show, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
See you later.